Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. This one will be on streamlining your LTL, FTL, and parcel shipments from within Frontier. So we'll start with some introductions for the team that'll be here with us today. We've got Charlie Hawkins as Director of Sales at Varsity Logistics. We have Tom Reber as Director of Business Development at Varsity. And we have Paul Gray, Vice President of Sales at Friedman Corporation. So, with that, I'd like to hand things off over to Charlie.
Great. Thanks, everyone. So I think I want to start with just kind of a very quick introduction to Varsity. Varsity offers an integrated parcel and freight planning, execution, and control solution. And I should say we run on the IBMI platform. We have a very large installed base. We have 1,500 distribution centers, roughly, using Varsity in the US and in Canada. And I think most importantly, we are fully integrated with Frontier. So we're going back and forth multiple spots, multiple times, depending on which modules you own of Frontier. And so we're going to really spend a lot of time on how that helps and how we help Frontier customers in general. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that we are a sister company to Frontier, and we're part of the Vila Libra portfolio of companies, of course, underneath the Constellation software umbrella. So let's talk about what we're going to cover today. We've accumulated a number of challenges and pain points that we've heard from Frontier customers about shipping. So we're going to talk about what some of those are, and kind of go through them, and you can let us know if you're having some of those same challenges. Then we're going to toggle into solutions to some of those challenges, pieces of our software, pieces of functionality that can enable a better shipping experience and saving of money, et cetera, as well as, of course, streamlining your shipping processes. And we're going to spend, because we've got a very large suite of software, and a lot of customers have different issues or interests. We're going to walk through a number of benefits that we've gleaned from Frontier users by using Frontier and Varsity together in the shipping area. And once we conclude with that, we're going to open it up to questions. So hopefully some of you can jot down some questions and actually submit them, and we'll cover those questions at the end of the presentation. Okay, so challenges and pain points. Okay, so, and this is like a partial list, so to speak, but if we were to generalize, I mean, the cost of shipping, it's gone up between 6 and 15 or even 18%, depending on how you're shipping every year. So over time, it's growing faster than inflation. It's growing faster than probably some of your materials costs and labor costs. So there are ways to reduce that. There's quite a few different ways. And we're going to get into, though, a lot of those scenarios. And I think some of them may surprise you that we're able to do to help you reduce those costs. Manual tasks are a killer. I mean, and when we say manual tasks, it's more than just completing export documents on your own and things like that. We're really talking, included with that, and things we're going to talk about are broken processes, bottlenecks, and we're going to get into the integration side, but two separate systems and the two not communicating, going offline to do some of the rate hunting and execution and things like that. So the integration issues really do create problems. They slow things down. They create errors. So we're going to talk more about that. In addition to the customer experience, so the expectations continue to grow from customers. They want to see rates on websites. They want to be able to see things from order entry when they're talking to someone on the phone. They want tracking information. They want delivery information. There's just a lot. The expectations of a customer continue to increase And that had been a pretty significant challenge and pain point for a lot of Frontier customers in the past. So we're going to talk about that as well. So Tom Reber is going to pick up here, and we're going to talk about some of these, addressing the actual shipping pain points that we started to talk about in the prior slides. Tom?
Okay. Thanks, Charlie. 3 areas I want to cover is the rate quoting or rate shopping, automated carrier selection, and an area called containerization, which is a way to determine how to pack your orders. And it supports not only rate shopping and carrier selection, but containerization can support some pretty neat workflows and efficiency gains. So we'll dive into the detail. I'm going to talk about rate quoting first. And when I say rate quoting, I'm talking about the rate quoting API from Varsity that can be called for rating truckload, LTL, and parcel carriers. Let's go to the next slide, and I'll show you some examples of a couple Frontier customers where they added the rate shopping API to their websites. And here's an example of a customer showing the options and the cost for different carriers to deliver the shipment. So we produce, as Charlie mentioned earlier, expectations of the customers this day and age are getting higher and higher. They expect to know what the cost, what the options are, transit times, cost at the time they're placing their order. So once you go to the next slide, there's another example of another Frontier customer doing the same thing through their website. In this case, they're showing the web service API from Varsity being called out for parcel carriers. Now, our website or a web service for rate shopping supports both parcel and LTL. So I'll dig into that a little bit deeper, the different levels of rate shopping and rate quoting that we have and what goes on behind the scenes in order to give those accurate rates. So the next level of rate shopping is what we call the automatic carrier selection or a routing guide. Kind of like rate shopping on steroids, where the automated carrier selection module or API from Varsity allows you to set up the rules for what carriers you want selected for the order or the situation that you're dealing with. You can set up rules. The rules can be based on your customer preferences, it can be based on origins and destinations. It can be set up by lane. You can set up the rule by product type, weight, size of the shipment. There's just a variety of ways you can set these rules up. The thing is, you're probably dealing with, most customers of ours deal with these rules. They do it in a manual fashion. There's a 3-ring binder, or there's somebody in shipping that knows all the rules, and you depend on that tribal knowledge to make the right, hopefully make the right decision when you're processing these orders or shipments. Now, a good routing guide, or the routing guide that our customers have been using with Frontier, allows you to automate that, and it can be called invisibly behind the scenes to automatically select the carrier based on the conditions it's in, or it can be something that pops up a screen and ties into rate shopping and allows the user to select the carrier options. And I think we're going to dive into containerization and advanced workflow. And in this, what I want to talk a little bit more about how the containerization process, first of all, what it is, and then how it ties into the other APIs and advanced workflows. So first of all, when we talk about containerization, we're talking about kind of a virtual pack of an order. We know the items on the order, we know the quantities, we know what cartons or containers or pallets you can ship with. So we have a module, the containerization module, looks at that order, looks at the quantities and dimensions and weight, looks at your rules and the containers that you have, and it packs the order, creates the shipment. Based on that shipment, it'll take that shipment, the number of pallets or the number of cartons, and the dimensions of that shipment, and it'll call out to the rate shopping modules to see what the lowest cost options are, or what the options are with the cost and transit time. And it pulls it together and shows the user. Now, the beauty of this is that if you have the ability to do containerization, do the virtual pack and the carrier selection ahead of time, you can support some pretty cool advanced workflows like the pick to label or a picked up box or pallet ahead of time. You can eliminate some of the processes downstream. So got a little wordy on that. Why don't we go to the next slide and I'll show you some examples. This is an example of what I mentioned when I said virtual pack. This is an example of an order that had 20 items on it, and we called out to the optimization module, and it decided that this order could be packed in 3 boxes, the dimensions of those boxes, the quantities of the items that are in each that box of those boxes, and then those boxes were placed on a pallet because the lowest cost carrier option was a LTL carrier. So that's an example of the virtual pack that we do. Now, let's go to the next slide and we'll see how that packing structure was used to feed into the rate shopping module. You can see that Roadway was the lowest cost carrier for this option, and UPS and the parcel carriers were below that. It's sorted low to high based on cost. So here's an example of containerization, then rate shopping. Let's go to the next slide and I'll show you another example of how a customer used the rate shopping, containerization, rate shopping, and shipping APIs to generate this document, this pick the label document. In this case, they did the containerization, determined that they could put all the items in a small box. They generated the shipping label ahead of time, applied that to peel off portion of the packing list, generated the packing list.
But with the packing list, you're saying that's what the S at the bottom is for, right?
Yes. Yeah, that S at the bottom is for the shipping label, and that says you use a box type S. They put the labels on the box, put the items in that box, seal it up, and they slide the package down to the conveyor leading to the truck. Now, what this did for this customer, it eliminated the packing and the shipping station. They did a pick the box, and they used the 3 APIs. Again, the containerization to determine what size box to use, the shipping program to generate the label, and the rate shopping program to determine what the lowest cost carrier was. And this could just as well have been done with an LTL carrier or a parcel carrier. The process is the same. So the next slide, I'm not going to wrap it up for my section. I think Paul wanted to talk a little bit about this.
Yeah, thanks, Tom and Charlie. This is Paul from Freedman. Obviously, there's a lot of functionality inside of the Varsity Logistics application, and it's very modular in terms of what you can deploy, and Charlie's going to go through that. But in terms of its integration points with Freedman, so we are calling Varsity via APIs from a number of different points. You're obviously familiar with Frontier, or just our internal order entry. And then we've also got 2 e-commerce applications, which is eQuote Dealer, which is our out-of-the-box e-commerce solution. And you can also create your own e-commerce solution using our web services. Either way that you're processing orders or quotes, we can then access these APIs to call Varsity. So you could be in the middle of a sales order and then say, okay, I've entered 10 line items on this order. Now I want to rate shop it in terms of offering to the customer, what am I going to be, how would you like this to be shipped? And this is going to be the cost. Now, as you saw on that containerization piece, it's not just using the gross weight of the order items that you've entered in Freedman. They can actually do some containerization to identify how many boxes it's going to be, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a very accurate way to provide good feedback to your customers in terms of available shipping options. And then we've extended it beyond just the rate shopping features and functions of order entry into the execution piece, whether you're shipping using iDispatch or whether you're shipping using our regular shipping confirmation applications. As an example, we're going to talk about a couple of our customers that are doing this level of integration between Freedman and Varsity. As an example, if you go to Hit Promotional ships out thousands upon thousands of promotional items, whether it's golf balls or hats or coffee cups. So when we take an order in Freedman, it's passing data, order data, to Varsity. So when they actually get to the shipping point, they're actually using a Varsity screen at that point. They're scanning the order number that is barcoded on each box. They're weighing the box. It's then creating the labels for FedEx or UPS right out of the Varsity system. And Varsity is confirming the shipment. And then Varsity is passing that data back to Freedman so that we know, oh, we've got 3 packages going out for this order. Here's the tracking numbers, etc. So the integration is far beyond just rate shopping. It's selecting carriers, it's creating shipping charges, and then at the end of the process, we can then feed back from Varsity all of the shipping data. So you can use the Varsity screens to ship, and it will then confirm back to Freedman that item has been shipped. So there's a lot of really exciting integration opportunities with our partnership with Varsity. And we would love to talk to you more about some of the customers that are benefiting from this integration. So Charlie, why don't you talk a little bit more about some of those specific benefits?
Yeah, I'd like to. Here's a list that we compiled after talking to a lot of Frontier customers as to really why they purchased it and what were the what we call in sales pain points that we solve. So I'm just going to kind of cover these one at a time, and you can decide if this is a potential pain point or a concern in your organization. So seamless integration. There's people that have brokers and whatnot with completely separate systems, no integration to Frontier, or maybe they're carrier provided systems with very limited, maybe people are going out to websites and things like that. So the integration piece via API and bringing important information into the Frontier system at the right time was really an important thing to folks. Being able to process along the same lines, right from Frontier. I mean, we can be called in a couple different ways. We can work as a black box, or we can work as a visible system, and we can explain more about that when we do a one-on-one with some of you. But rate quoting and executing from within Frontier was a big thing. Automating all the processes and doing it seamlessly, looking at where the bottlenecks are, getting shipping labels at packing stations, or even getting shipping labels to pick from, or maybe just sometimes during a back order situation where you've got to process a lot of shipments. We enable those types of processes for folks. A lot of Frontier customers are big full trailer shippers. And Varsity's got a really cool process. It's called, the module is called consolidation. And we can take a look at upstream in Frontier, how many LTL shipments are going to various parts of the region, those orders that are out there. Our software will go out and plot a dynamic load plan, if you will, a multi-stop full trailer move from base LTL orders in Frontier. So you follow me? No more of these whiteboards. We've been to Frontier customers where there's a few people oftentimes in a room, and they've got whiteboards, and they're looking to consolidate orders to make a full trailer multi-stop move. So we can do that automatically. That's a huge one. And there's such a big savings on multi-stop full trailer compared to individual LTL shipments. Paul touched on iDispatch, really. The only thing that's really missing in iDispatch is really having commercial trucking rates inside of iDispatch. So that would be an invisible call. We can bring back full trailer and LTL or even parcel rates in iDispatch. So you have that stuff all in one spot and make the appropriate decisions based on that. We also offer auditing of these bills, both parcel bills and freight bills. So that really is a huge ROI. We would know what your contract rates are. We would set up with your input, a variance, like, if it's within 0.5% or 1% or something, it's still okay to pay. But we're tracking what the bills are that are coming in against your contract rates or the expected rates. So that's a nice one. And we've been talking at some advanced things, but I mean, you have a FedEx and a UPS or maybe a DHL system, all standalone systems. That's going to be eliminated. You're going to have one system that allows any carrier at any location. So all those technical, IT heartaches and heartbreaks, having to deal with these systems when they go down or they do an update automatically overnight and it blows up and you got a location that's far off and they can't ship UPS or have LTL website issues and whatnot. We make all that go away. Varsity's one system that solves all those problems. And, centralization, all this shipping data ends up in our database, or your database, I should say, and almost anything you would want to know, how much you're spending by zone, what customers you're shipping to under what situations, that's all in our files, and you can report against that. You can point an Excel pivot table to the data. You can use an existing BI tool to get some really good management and cost segregation scenarios from the data that is your data. Because today, that's what we call an island of data. That stuff's scattered over different carriers. It's on a PC. You really can't access it and report against it. So this was a list of some things that we gleaned from customers relative to their pain points and what we solved. Okay, so there's some overlap here compared to that last slide, but what we want to do is just quickly let you know what the different modules are and what our names are for them, etc. So this is the proverbial 30,000-foot view of our software. There's two controlling applications. In the blue, we've got ShipSoft Parcel there, and in the red, we've got ShipSoft Freight. The way that we segment our modules allows us to scale the software and allows you to scale it and allows you not to have to buy things that you don't need. So we're very a la carte in that regard. And in many, many cases, the software from Varsity is not, there's a very fast ROI because you can just pick what it is that you need. But having said that, if we start on the left, I mean, ShipTalk is a communications with the outside world, so to speak, tracking data, alerts via text, advanced ship notices, 856 ASNs, if you will. So we handle all kinds of add-on things through ShipTalk relative to communication and labeling. ShipPack, we're able to keep track of which items are in the box or boxes in a master, masters on a pallet, pallets on a truck. We've got that hierarchical setup where we can actually manage what the shipment contains, which has got a lot of benefits, including people calling in shortages that weren't there. And we can check the weight against what was on the pallet or in the box. There's just a lot of functionality there and what we call packing. And as I mentioned before, we can audit these parcel bills for UPS and FedEx automatically, and there's a significant savings that's had by doing that. And then over on the freight side, Freight Plan is the consolidation piece. Again, managing multi-stop full trailer or creating multi-stop full trailer moves. Another way to talk about that is load planning. And then again, we're auditing freight bills as well. Optimizer is the piece that Tom talked about, containerization. That's a nice offering. Ship Select is a very advanced carrier selection and decision-making piece of software. This eliminates 80% of what people had to modify, and oftentimes in other systems, we've got a way to set that up and not have to make a modification, and that's called Ship Select. And Transdata is the reporting piece. It's really a data capture piece. Allows you to report many different ways and scenarios, from all the data that's on the eye already. So we're on the eye, and you can point your reporting scenarios to Transdata and get what you need. Yep, great. So this is a handful of Frontier customers that use us. There are others. We'd be happy to set up a call to talk to some of these folks that use our software. They have nothing but good things to say about us. So we're hoping to have specific conversations with you about what your specific requirements are. Carrico, before you jump in, I just did want to tell everyone that, we are here to have a one-on-one conversation with you, at your convenience. We'd love to talk about what your specific situation is and gather a little bit of data, and then maybe do a demo that's very specific to some of the challenges or pain points that you may be having in shipping today. But having said that, Carrico, I'll pass to you.
Yeah, it seems that you're quite thorough. Didn't get any questions for this session, but really appreciate it. And yeah, if you would like to reach out to Charlie, Tom, or Paul, you can certainly reach to our team over at these emails here. They can help with bringing up a tailored demo of some sort, help you get a feel for what Varsity can do and how it can help you within your Frontier environment. But with all that, really appreciate the webinar here, everyone, and look forward to being in touch.
Great. Thanks, everyone.